My name's Jamie Keeling and I'm the founder and managing director of Optimise. Today I want to talk to you very briefly about my top tips for being a killer networker and how to master your presence and how you show up at networking events, no matter what type of networking event that might be. Now, for me, networking hasn't always come easily, and that's really the motivation behind making this video, because I understand how nerves, anxiety, and that kind of, ooh, what if, can play a really big role in stopping us from getting out there and meeting new people. And for anybody in business, you will appreciate the necessity to networking. Now, in recent years, the focus has been moved away from physical networking and onto the digital form of networking. And we might do this on Facebook, through multiple forms of social media, Instagram, connecting with people on Twitter and all those good platforms. But there really is no substitute for showing up in person and meeting people in the flesh. The reason for that is because language and communication comes in many different forms. And unfortunately, on social media, we generally tend to only get one part of the communication triad, or as I call it, and that is really the words. Whereas there's a lot more to communication than just the words. For example, you've got body language. You can see me gestating with my hands and moving around. You can see my facial expressions, and that plays a key role in how we communicate with people, because although words are only 7% of our total communication, we're actually not talking all the time, and you're communicating with people that you're conversing with even when you're not talking, and a lot of that is through body language and through kind of active listening. The other side of communication is the tonality that you use. So you'll notice that as I'm talking, I'm speaking more loudly, more quiet. I might be going up in pitch or down in pitch. And those things really do fail to come across in the written word. So, like I said, there's no substitute for getting out there and networking, meeting people, real people in the flesh, in person. But a lot of people let their nerves hold them back. They might have a limiting belief around why they can't network, or they might just be worried about what other people are going to think of them. So these tips are really for introverts to help introverts become extroverted networkers. Now, I call myself these days an extrovert introvert, because I'm an introvert that likes to get out there and meet people and likes to put myself out there. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing these Facebook Lives, I wouldn't do what I do, and I wouldn't be going to networking events. So the key is, if you're an introvert, that's absolutely fine. And actually, introverts have some great qualities, but there are certain things that hold us back when it comes to networking, when it comes to building relationships and meeting new people. So the first thing I'd say about how to network like an extrovert, and really the key to success in networking or building relationships with anybody, is to take a genuine interest in the other person. Now, when you go to a networking event, obviously you're going there because you want to meet like-minded people. You might be looking for people to partner with in your business, but for the most part, you're looking for new prospects, potentially new clients. So the focus really needs to be on them. And that's the mistake a lot of people can make, is that they go to networking events and they think it's all about them. And actually, this is the source of a lot of the nerves and anxiety that we feel. Because we go to these events and we think it's all about us, all eyes are on us, all the focus is on us, and we have to perform. Whereas that's really not the case. Actually, the real reason you're at a networking event is to serve other people, is to get to know other people. And to do that, you have to be focused on them, not on yourself. So yes, you have some value to offer, your business or whatever it is that you do, but really the focus should be on, what do the people there need? What do they want? What is going to serve them? What is going to help them in the here and now? If your focus can be on finding out what those things are, networking becomes a hell of a lot easier straight away. So one of the things that can really trouble people when it comes to networking is, over and above putting the focus on themselves rather than where it should be on the other people there, is that they don't prepare. Now you might think, well, it's a networking meeting. What do you mean prepare? There's no homework. Wrong. Because for introverts, if you want to come across as an extrovert, you need to master the art of asking quality questions, or at least good questions that are going to open up conversation. It's no good turning up and going through the same old, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, well, weather's nice today, isn't it? Oh, yes, it's lovely, thanks. They're really boring conversations that don't achieve anything for either person taking part. So it's a case of, if you want to master this, have some pre-prepared questions. And that's all really the preparation you need to do. So have your go-to 3, 5 or 10 questions that you go to every time you meet someone new. And that could be, what is it that you do? What inspired you to get into that? How long have you been doing this? What's your favorite part about what you do? What's the part you hate the most? So right there's kind of 3, 4, 5 questions that I've reeled off very, very quickly, didn't even have to think about because they're part of my pre-prepared set of questions, and guaranteed those 5 questions alone will allow me to network in a way that where there's no breaks in conversation, no awkward moments, and not me stood there stumbling over my words trying to think of something to say. Because I'm asking questions and I'm encouraging the other person to open up and tell me about themselves. And that plays into the whole getting to know the other person's needs, wants and desires. Because when you know that, you can effectively prospect. Because ultimately, there's no point in trying to sell your service or sell your product to somebody who doesn't want it and doesn't need it. That is an absolute waste of time. As a salesperson, your job is not to convert a no into a yes. Your job is to convert maybes into a yes and to take yeses through to the finish line. So by asking these questions and having this set of pre-prepared questions, and you can use these in a sales situation as well, you're qualifying the people that you're talking to see if they might be interested in the product or service that you have to offer. And that should really be what this is all about. Is the person you're talking to going to find any value in what you have to say, in what you do, or in the product that you're pushing? Because if they're not, then it's great to meet them and it's great to meet new contacts, and they may well be able to help you in another way. But ultimately, if you start talking to somebody, you're asking these exploratory questions and you find out that actually there aren't any synergies, there aren't any similarities, then you know that you both need to move on to other things, other people, and stop wasting your time by networking with each other. Because ultimately, networking is about building lasting relationships with people with whom you can have a joint benefit. So the other thing to this is you need to show up as an expert. This is crucially important because if you show up in a room and you don't know your stuff, then no one's going to want to listen to you talk. And more importantly, no one's going to want to work with you, whether that's partnering with you or whether that's becoming one of your clients. So you need to get clear on what your message is. You need to get clear on why you've turned up there and what you're hoping to get out of the meeting. But you need clarity on what it is that you actually do as well. Now, this might be more difficult for newer businesses who've recently set up and startups, but really those things should be defined by your business plan before you even register the company. So really it's about getting clarity on why you do what you do and how you do what you do. What are you delivering? What problem, what pain point are you addressing for your ideal client? And then get out there and make sure you've got a clear and concise message which clearly communicates what the benefits are of your service to those other people that you're networking with. This is crucially important because if you turn up and you talk for 10 minutes around a bunch of stuff that doesn't even matter and you're kind of whizzing around Pluto over here without actually getting to the nitty-gritty of what you do, how you do it, why it's important and how it can make a difference to the person you're talking to, then you've just wasted a 10-minute networking session that could have resulted in a client that would increase your revenue by hundreds of pounds or thousands of pounds or maybe even tens of thousands of pounds. So getting clear on your message and why you're there is absolutely important. And you have to know your outcome. Why are you even attending a networking meeting? That's crucially important too. Are you just looking to meet new people? Well, that's fine, but why are you looking to meet new people? Are you just looking to expand your network? Are you looking for new business partners? Are you looking for new staff members? Are you looking for mentors or coaches that can help you take your business or your venture to the next level? Or are you looking for prospects and clients? It's really key to be very clear on what it is that your expected outcome from a given networking event. Now, it might be several of those things. You might be going to a networking event looking for new clients and prospects, but you might also be looking for somebody to partner with in a sector that would benefit and add to your business, that has synergies with your business or your product, service or offering, but that you currently don't offer yourself, but that you'd rather partner with somebody to provide rather than try and do it all alone. So that's really, really important as well. Now, when you're talking to people, when you're networking, having all these things in place provides you with a structure and a framework which gives you confidence. Now, the way to be confident is you just show up and be confident, and then confidence will come. Confidence isn't something that you walk into a room with. Confidence is something that you develop. So it's crucially important that you show up at these events. Show up with positivity, show up with congruence, and show up with a can-do attitude. Show up with high levels of energy as well, because people are attracted to high levels of energy. Be the charismatic person in the room. Be the person that gets picked on first because you've got that wacky hair and you just give off that kind of energy. That's a really cool thing to do, and it means that you're memorable. It means that you're memorable, rather. So people aren't going to forget you in a hurry, and that's a good thing when you're networking. So when you're talking to people, some of the tricks you can use to build rapport are really getting into flow and getting into sync with the other person. So, for example, if the person you're talking to is very softly spoken, it would be a mistake to engage in that conversation and be shouty, loud and bright, because instantly you're going to break any rapport that you had, and you're certainly not going to be building any new rapport. That is not compatible with the way that they're behaving. So this is really about matching and managing your behaviors, so that your behaviors, the way you show up, potentially even the way you stand, we can go into some of these NLP techniques as well, this kind of matching and mirroring technique. But really it's about making the other person feel comfortable in your presence. Now, if I was to be really loud and shouty with somebody who was very softly spoken, I would probably come across as very intimidating. If I'm coming across as intimidating, that person probably isn't going to want to work with me. They probably aren't going to enjoy the conversation, and they probably won't get any value out of it. So it's crucially important that you look at the way the other person is behaving, and you try to, at least some degree, match and mirror what you're seeing in them. So if they're very calm, then match their calmness. If they're speaking softly, match their soft-spoken tone. If they're sitting down, then sit with them rather than having them sit and you stand. These are all very basic things that generally we do anyway without even thinking about it. But in a networking situation, when we're extremely nervous and can be very anxious, these things sometimes tend to go out of the window. And so if we have some hard and fast rules that we can follow, that we know to look for, to keep our minds busy if nothing else, that help us build rapport through the course of those conversations, then that's a massively positive thing. And all of these things that I've gone through in this video are very, very useful because they give you confidence, because they give you a framework to fall back on. No longer are you showing up at a networking meeting and wondering what the hell you're going to say, wondering who the hell you're going to talk to, what you're going to talk about, and if the conversation is going to be any good. And people get worried over whether they're going to stumble over their words because they're worried they might forget what to say and all this kind of stuff. But when you have this prepared framework that you can work to, a set of certain questions that you ask every time that help you qualify a potential prospect or a potential partner or even a new potential employee, then there's no space for your mind to go into overdrive and to make you nervous, to make you anxious. They're really unresourceful states, and we want to stay away from that as much as possible. So the key is to have that framework, to do the preparation so that you can show up at the meeting knowing that you've got something that you're working to, knowing that you have a plan of action. And that alone will eliminate pretty much all of your anxiety and certainly make it a lot more manageable. The final thing I'm going to share with you today is really the icing on the cake. It's the cream of the crop when it comes to getting success out of networking. Whether this is looking for a new partnership, whether this is looking for a new client or a new member of staff, or just meeting new people generally. The thing is, this one thing is so important because with it, it makes massively fantastic and beneficial connections, and it makes lasting relationships. If you don't do this, your networking is a complete waste of time. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about follow-up. Now, this might sound like crazy basic to all of you listening, but believe me, most of the people who attend networking events do not bother to follow up. They chat with people, they exchange business cards, and then nothing. They leave the event and they might chat to them the next time they get to an event, or if they see them again. But otherwise, the lead goes cold, the card goes dead, it might even get lost on the way home. because they never had any intention of following up. And this is where knowing your outcome really comes in. Because when you know your outcome, you know why you're following that person up. You know that you're following them up to add value to them, or so they can add value to you, or even add value both ways. So it is absolutely crucial that if you swap cards with someone at a networking event, or someone interests you, or what someone does interest you, follow up with them, even if you don't know where it's going to go. Even if you don't have a specific product or service to sell them. Even if you don't know whether you're going to be able to build a meaningful partnership yet. Just follow up and see where the relationship goes. Because relationships take input, they take effort, and they take work. And the first step to building a relationship following a networking event is taking out that business card, tapping their email into your email system or the telephone number into your phone, and following up. Give them a call, see how they're getting on. And the other side of this is, if you swap information with somebody at a networking event and you say, oh yeah, we should get together for a coffee, or yeah, I'll pop you an email, and then you don't schedule an appointment for a coffee, or you don't schedule that, if you don't send them that email, then what have you just made yourself look like? You've made yourself look like somebody who's unreliable and someone who doesn't follow through on the things they say they're going to do. So again, who would want to work with somebody like that? Who would want to pay money to somebody like that? Who would want to engage with somebody like that? There are a lot of people who won't. And the thing is, that's your initial impression. That's your first impression. The first thing you can do to build a successful relationship after networking is to follow up. And if you can't even do that right, that doesn't really build a lot of confidence and faith in the other person, in you, in terms of moving that relationship forward. So I hope you found that useful today, guys. These have been my hacks for networking. I am Jamie Keeling, and I'm the founder and managing director of Optimise Me. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon.